doing now, you're going to talk. But there are, for a truly analytical person, he is bound to look at it with more circumspect rather than accept blindly what is said. You relate that situation to your own home situation, to your friend's situation, when you see human beings, and then those interactions, to what extent, try to understand the person in front when he is talking to you. How sincere does he look while he is talking? How articulate is he in presenting what he wants to say and how he wants to say? His body language, which he is saying, you should be able to, these are some things which I thought are very useful and you should know. I don't think the books are going to tell you so much about this body language business, but this body language is something, suppose a person is coming straight in front, by sheer conscious analytical thing in your own mind process, you will be able to gauge it. So a person is coming, how is he talking to you? Whether he's come to bullshit or whether he has come to talk sense or whether he has simply come to make some kind of a time pass, kind of an environment, what does he want to do? Or if somebody is coming to you on work and talking something and telling something, how much credence you should give to what he's saying and how you should be able to distinguish between what is acceptable and not acceptable. These are some fundamentals which any youngster should imbibe. A lot of us think that we know. We talk to your parent, you talk to your father, mother or something when you talk, and they respond in a particular way. Because you have lived with them all your life, you are able to gauge. Suppose I ask this of my mom or dad, he is not going to say yes or no. Why do you think like that? Because of your understanding of the situation and how they have reacted in past situations or how they have reacted in their reactions with others. That's how you see and that's how you find out. But if you look, you will see, you don't know now, maybe as you go ahead. Good old days we had a book, Max Beerbohm, Games People Play, Transaction Analysis. These are very, very, things where every transaction, every talk that I am doing, even the talk that I am doing to you now is a game transaction. There is a particular motive, there is a particular, belief with which I am trying to talk. Now that is why I talk what I am talking now. You friends, when you are talking to one another, sometimes you are doing ha ha, he and jokes and all those things. Sometimes with some sarcasm you are undercutting. Why? Because you felt that you should, and you do it. The person, if you are, introspective enough, you will immediately be able to understand all those things. I came here, Professor Mishra said, come and talk. I said, what will I talk? What will I tell you? I said, something what I learnt in life or what I thought is something which is very common should be shared with you, the younger generation, the new managers of tomorrow, who will be able to, who will be a part of this huge subset which we call the world, not India. We don't talk about anymore about India or something. We talk of internationalization, we talk of globalization, we talk of macro levels that we talk. So with these few words, I do not know whether I have been able to really translate what I had in mind. But basically, I hope something some effect has happened on your minds and some kind of thinking will be germinated over a period of time. Thank you very much.
Inspiring and thought-provoking speech with exemplary examples. Now I take the privilege of introducing our chief guest, Sri Krishnan Iyer Garu. Sri Krishnan Iyer is a Senior Vice President and Global Delivery Lead for Banking and Financial Services Processes for Cognizant. He runs a 5,000 crore business and leads more than 16,000 service associates in his team across the globe. He worked as Managing Director at UBS, setting up their global investment banking and wealth processes in India. Prior to UBS, he was with Accenture as a partner in their financial solutions. He has also worked with GE Capital in India and Europe, leading finance transformation. Before GE, he used to work with Tata Finance, heading their asset finance division, and has been part of mergers and acquisitions and joint ventures, which are the strategic tools for business expansion and growth. He's a Friends Chartered Accountancy and ICWA. Many of the students who are aspiring to have career in finance, they dream for them and work hard, work day and night to clear these exams. But I am proud to say that we have today before us the All India Merit Holder in Chartered Accountancy and first class graduate in ICWA with us. And behind the success of every man, there is a woman. Sir has Mrs. Rupa, who is inspiring him at home and contributing a lot at Dr. Reddy's. And he is a proud father of Master Anant and a beautiful daughter of Mr. Deepthi. Sir, I am glad to invite you to address our students.
So good morning everybody. Dr. Mishra, Sri Ramakrishna, Dr. Murthy, and members of the faculty and students. So it's a great privilege for me to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Dr. Saab. Every time I think it's such a great privilege for me to interact with you guys. What I am going to do is, what I was asked to do, rather, is share some experiences, right? So I have had, I think, a reasonably successful career, right? Still not over, still 15 years left, right? But so I think what Dr. Mishra asked me to do is share some experiences with you guys in terms of what are the themes that have worked for me. For everybody, it's their own theme, right? I mean, everybody is different, right? But I can only share with you what has worked for me, some of the experiences that I've had, good, bad, some of the failures, some of the successes, and some of the themes I have culled out, which I wanted to kind of share with you, right? So I have put together a few slides, and I mean, happy for them to be circulated. But I just had a small story every slide, which will probably give you some of the context. So it's purely what has worked for me, right? I would urge you to take anything out of this, what you would like to achieve, right? My first principle has always been aim high, and I think this aiming high thing came from more being scared rather than anything, because I lost my father when I was studying my graduation. So I didn't know how do I get a job. We are talking about 1990s, right? Early 1991, when jobs were not available. This was pre-Narasimha Rao era, right? Where India had not financial reforms were not there. So I was shit scared. What would happen if I don't get a job, right? So I was heavily dependent on my father, and I said, okay, something will work out, right? I was like this usual. So I was an above average kid. I was not very, heavily into acads. Didn't treat life with the seriousness or whatever. Really had a jolly time, right? Then I became scared a little bit when I lost my father as to what do I do, right? But one of the things he had left with me before he had gone was he wanted me to get a merit in the Chartered Accountancy examination, right? Which is all very well to say, but when I wanted to kind of actually do it, I said, shit, people, the passing percentage is very bad. It's hardly 1%, or it used to be 0.5% when it actually turned out in the year I passed out. I said, how do I go about it, right? So I spoke to a lot of people. How do you go about it, right? And they said, look, aim high, go for 100%, right? Go for 100%. I said, you're crazy, 100% in CA exam. They said, at least if you aim for 100, you will reach somewhere, right? Go for it, right? So from that time onwards, every day, for me was looking at that number, right? So every day for whatever 3 years I studied that course. I used to get up every day, will myself, hey, I need to get to that number, right? So whether it is work, whether it is additional work that I had to do, but that number was always there. So whenever I studied, it was always, I wanted to get into that. And all, frankly, it was nothing great, but it was more driven, as I said, by fear. So when you aim high, you're also scared sometimes, right? Will I get there? You don't know. Then there are no right answers. You may not get there also, right? But it should not prevent you, because this is what Michelangelo said, right? So I have the benefit of hindsight. The greatest danger for most of us lie in not setting our aim too high and falling short, but in setting our aim too low and achieving most of it. Right? So if you set it low, anyway you'll achieve it. So big deal, right? You're not challenged yourself, right? So challenge yourself. That's the first thing, and write down what you want to achieve, right? So I wrote down that I will get into the merit list in the CA exam and stuck it on my board, right? I said I will get there. So first write down, right? Even if you want to become a billionaire, write it down. See at it every day, right? Look at it every day, revise it, believe that you can get there. And you have to keep on looking at it and changing it, right? You can't, it's not a thing out there always. But always if you say, okay, in 5 years where you want to be or 3 years where you want to be, you will have some idea. If you have no idea, fine, but you need to have some idea. Because if you have no idea, you can be like a boat in an ocean, you don't know where you're going, you're just going, right? So have some idea, whatever, but have it for yourself, right? But aim high. The second thing I found very useful was passion for excellence, right? Whatever you're doing, excel at it, right? Irrespective of, it doesn't matter, you can be good at anything. Some are good at economics, some are good at finance, some are good at, some are just good at talking, right? Some are good at communication, skills, marketing, selling, anything. Just be damn good at it. Right? If I were to take a diversion, right, on this, if you were to look at, as a country, what should you recognize Switzerland for? I mean, outside of the black money thing, what would you recognize for? Chocolates or watch, right? They have built a brand. Each one of you can build a brand for yourself. And that's the message I want to leave here. Build your brand. What do you stand for? Even as you think, or as you what do you stand for? If somebody takes your name, what do you stand for, and what are you, what's your calling card, right? And that is very important. And that passion is important, whether it's the quality of the answer paper that you write or the quality of the work that you do. It has to be, there has to be something different about it. It has to show, that excellence has to show. So this passion for excellence is very important. If you're not if you're not proud of what you're doing, then it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, then you better be doing something else. And this passion also brings a lot of pride in it, right? Because then you become proud of what you're doing, right? And also, always had this because, I wanted that whatever we do, and this is continued in the later part of my career also, as to whatever we deliver from India, for example, I have always held myself and my team to very high standards of what we are doing. Do we always get there? Sometimes we falter, right? We slip. But it's important that it's always recognized for a particular degree of excellence, right? So the guidance for you is think about your brand, build your brand, what you stand for, right? The third part, work hard. I forgot one word in it. Work incredibly hard. Okay, I forgot the word incredible in that. This is the age that you got where you can actually put in 16, 18 hours of your life, right? There is nothing preventing you from doing that, right? For the next, whatever, at least 10, 15 years till you have that youth on your side, right? You may probably slow down a little bit, maybe cut off a few hours, you may have other commitments afterwards. But this is the time of your life when you have the energy, the physical energy and the mental energy to really go for it, right? Don't waste it away. Learn, right? Study, work hard, right? Whether it's working on a project, whether it is working on learning something new, whatever you're doing, just work incredibly hard. I mean, this is one thing which all the CEOs of every company, I have not seen any CEO, they may pretend they are not working hard, but believe it or not, everybody They are so incredibly, they work hard, right? So this is something which is important, right? I have, and it's about what you do, make the best out of the times you get, right? It is not that you should not enjoy, you should enjoy by the time you enjoy. Obviously, everybody has a life, but then the time that you get, just go behind it, just be very focused and work hard. Right? And the underlying tactic, I mean, even as you think about it, prepare yourself for the top, right? Prepare yourself for the top. So if you have to get there, why you're working hard to write, to get to what you've written, right? So if you've written there, then you be prepared to go for it, right? So I used to remember, right, even when I was doing my CA or ICWA, my boss just refused to give me any leave. So we studied the entire CWA coaching on the train, right? My entire lot of CA I studied on the bus while going up and down in Bombay in the train, right? And he made use of every time that we got, right? Even afterwards, because the only one goal was to come in the merit list. That's it, period. It didn't matter. Nothing else existed. In the train filled with a lot of people in Bombay, nothing else existed. It was just me and my book. So that degree of focus is very important. Another thing in terms of working hard, learn as much as you can when you get your job. I remember my first job was in Tata Motors. And so they said, my boss said, he gave me some work and it was over in 2 hours. And he had nothing more to offer. He said, that's it. Right? So I said, I can't work only for 2 hours. What should I do more, right? So I went to some other department, right? Ask for work. Ask for work. Don't let it come to you. Go, ask for work, learn, right? Ensure that you are heavily engaged 14, 16 hours till you feel tired. Don't go to bed, but take on more and more and more. You will learn incredible, right? So for me, I took work from the service department, from spare parts, from sales. This had nothing to do with finance, right? But I'll tell you how it paid off. When there was an executive selection scheme within Tata Group to put people on fast track, I was unanimously selected to be on that. I got 3 promotions in 1 year and I was unanimously selected for that. But that was an output, right? I never asked for it. But then when I got to choose bosses whom I had to work with, every guy who I used to work with gave me high ratings because I had built those connections much before I had wanted. So go and ask for work. Go and ask. This is very important, right? Never ever say, hey, I'm done with my work. Go and help somebody who needs it, right? You will always learn with it. For me, this is a very important thing, integrity. I know Mr. C. Ramakrishna alluded to it, right? Integrity is very, very core at what we do. And integrity means a lot of things to a lot of people, but integrity is also doing the right thing when nobody is watching. Integrity is very, very important, right? Even as you're going up the corporate ladder, it's very important that you don't do anything which you will not like to read it in the newspaper tomorrow, right? Corporate executives call it the newspaper test, right? Whatever you're doing, whatever action you're taking today, if it blows out, right, will you be able to withstand it, right? So if act with integrity, this is something which is, I think, if you lose this, whatever you achieve, it doesn't matter. Because it can come to knots anytime, right? So never fool around with this. Collaborate. You know, the biggest power that you have today is each one of you. Collaborate with each one of you. Everybody has different strengths. You may be good at something, your friend may be good at something. How do you learn to collaborate? And collaboration can be very, very powerful, and there are various modes of collaboration today, right? There are a lot of digital means available to collaborate, right? So collaborate, go out of the way, collaborate. And sometimes, one of the best things I have found is learn from other people's ideas also. Listen, learn, and therefore you collaborate, you become better. You learn from other people's mistakes. I remember even as a part of growing up in corporate career, I used to just go and spend time with senior executives, right? Either on a cup of coffee or a cup of lunch. And then I'll tell, sir, tell me what worked for you, what didn't work for you. Huh? So they will tell, they will talk, right? And by and large, people are nice and they will talk, right? And then they will guide you, okay, what worked, what didn't work for them, what mistakes they made, right? Learn from it, don't repeat those, right? But you have a very unique opportunity to learn from those. So I used to take that opportunity to meet every executive out there and learn from them. You get two benefits. One is, you learn. Second, when you need their help within the company, they are available. You don't have to, so if you're working in a company which has maybe 5 or 6 general managers or deputy general managers, you joined as an entry guy, as an officer or an entry level manager, go and talk, no problem, right? Go meet, talk informally. Therefore, build those connections, right? So when you really want their help or when you really want their advice, you can go and, it's always good, right? So do that. So collaboration across, but also up, which is called networking, is important. Build your network before you require it. When you require it, your network will not come to you cannot have network when you want it, right? Network is, you have to take the effort to build up that network, right? So that is something which has worked. So that's a tagline I put: network before you need it, yeah, not when you need it. There I couldn't prevent myself but putting up somebody who never gave up, right? And this must be the name. You may know the name of the person also. It's not so this one, but this was a guy whose family was forced out of their home. He had to work to support. In 1818, he lost his mother. In 1831, he failed in business. In 1832, he ran for the state legislature and lost. In 1832, he also lost his job. Okay? He wanted to go to law school, but he couldn't get in. Right? He borrowed some money, became bankrupt. Ran for the state legislature, won though. He was engaged to be